Welcome back, everyone, and I'm delighted to welcome both the chairperson and the MD of one of the leading pillars of manufacturing in Pune, and that's Thermax. Thermax is a leading energy and environment solutions provider, and it's one of the few companies in the world that offers integrated innovative solutions in the areas of heating, cooling, power, water and waste management, air pollution control, and chemicals. So welcome to the chairperson, Meher Pudumjee, and MD Ashish Bhandari, who are going to tell us, very interestingly, how they see automation and the future of work. Meher and Ashish, over to you.
A very good afternoon, and thank you to Ashutosh and Rujuta for inviting me here today. I'm going to talk about automation and the future of work. So on March 23rd, 2020, when India went into a lockdown, it was as if the world around us had come to a standstill. Quickly after the initial shock came the realization that customers will continue to have to be served, and it will be a while before our employees will be back in the office. One of our earliest crises was a boiler for a customer in Egypt that had to be commissioned, but there was no way to get our employees on site. This brings me to the topic for today, which is automation and the future of work. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Thermax, we are a leading energy and environment solutions provider in the areas of heating, cooling, power, water and wastewater treatment, pollution control, and chemicals. We have installations across 88 countries, which are supported by 14 manufacturing factories in India, Indonesia, and Denmark, and a sales and service network spread across 29 countries. As a manufacturing company, we have been working on some form of automation for many years now. Today, with the advent of sensors to capture real-time machine data, cloud computing to store and analyze immense amounts of collected data, and artificial intelligence to make meaning out of it, new avenues for process improvement and new business models exist like never before. And COVID has only helped accelerate this pace of change. From a historical perspective, automation in Indian industry has long been seen more as a shop floor tool than a business performance enabler. Automation in industrial processes has the promise of delivering significant rewards towards reduced selling and distribution expenses, improved raw material and logistic costs, better quality, higher efficiency and productivity of both man and machine, and of course, reduced carbon footprint. This has been quite evident, especially last year, in the way people have adjusted and adapted. Industries with digitalized processes and advanced automation are able to deliver to the customer through the pandemic. There is no doubt that automation and digitization is the key. And embracing it, of course, other than many other enablers, will truly be necessary for the growth and competitiveness of our manufacturing sector. I'd like to draw a distinction between digitization and digital transformation. Just digitizing processes is not sufficient for digital transformation. Let me share an example between two taxi companies. Company A and B. Company A started early. They achieved popularity and invested in many technologies like good ERP, a digital platform, and even offered drivers connected with walkie-talkies. All this was in the realm of digitizing processes. However, Company B started thinking about digitization as core to their entire strategy. And therefore, apart from an ERP, a digital payment system, they changed their complete business model by creatively connecting the taxi, the driver, and the passenger on a real-time basis digitally. This is the power of digital transformation that Company B was able to capture. And we all know this is Uber. At Thermax, we have implemented ERP across our business units, moved from paper-based drawings to 2D and 3D drawings using advanced systems. We've implemented Salesforce to capture and manage our leads and customers, and many more. But it's still done in silos, discreetly, rather than putting digitization at the core. The challenge in front of us is to look at opportunities to digitally transform. I'd like to share the example of our cooling division factory, which was set up in Sri City near Chennai about 3 years ago. This is to manufacture chillers. And the strategic intent was to improve productivity by 60% using automation, process streamlining, and product modularization. Unfortunately, the results are not as envisaged. We've reached just 25% improvement and are still far from our planned target. Though the manufacturing execution system, which is MES implementation, helped automate the visualization of jobs, sequences, and bill of materials, the key processes of product scheduling, material planning, and quality management are still done manually outside the MES system. Such discrete process adoption defeats the overall achievement of automation goals and prolongs business outcome. But I believe it's not the software that is the problem. It is the application of the product in the context of the business culture which determines success or failure. Execution systems are great tools, but they aren't a panacea. People still remain the most important asset in an organization, and mindset change takes time. To get employees to embrace the bot, it's important that organizations include the perspective of human change management within their automation initiatives. With various programs launched to train our manpower, alleviating the fear of job losses should we continue to grow, as well as alignment of our business reviews based only on analytics and system-driven dashboards has helped us improve our outcome. We have started experiencing shoots of positive change. I'm confident that with management focus, increased communication and training, motivation, and reskilling wherever need be, we will realize the aimed productivity and be able to take a step further in our automation journey. Let me go back to our customer in Egypt, the one I spoke about earlier. With our team of dedicated experts, we ensured that the project was delivered and commissioned sitting in Pune. As they say, necessity is the mother of invention. The COVID situation provided an opportunity for Thermax to proliferate this concept that helped in improving efficiency, reducing costs, carbon footprint, and saving time, not just for the organization, but for the customer. And now for many other customers across our boiler, chiller, and utility management. Today, with the integration of smart sensors and edge devices into our products, we have more than 400 products that have been connected via the cloud and are delivering real-time operational information. This has enabled us in remote monitoring, diagnosis, and in several cases, also remote corrections, saving precious time and cost for the customer as well as for Thermax. But whether we like it or not, the road of ongoing automation comes with a human, macroeconomic, and societal toll. A recently released report by the International Labour Organization dwells on automation and employability. The report states that in case of India, over 50% activities can be automated. The report further points out that robotic automation is having the greatest impact, replacing low-skilled jobs and simple assembly tasks. The report also says automation will likely impact most jobs involving highly structured physical activity in predictable environments such as manufacturing and retail. Today, India has an unemployment crisis. Over and above that, what this report suggests is that India also has an employability crisis. It is found that 66% of Indian businesses are looking for quite a different set of skills among new recruits than they did just 3 years ago. Even when firms have jobs on offer, they are unable to find candidates with the right skill sets. So it's a question of jobs without people and people without jobs. The switch from traditional means of doing business to technology-driven means has resulted in many traditional jobs either being replaced or morphed into something different. Unfortunately, our education system and culture hankers after being a graduate. Whether or not it gets you a job, that graduation certificate is embedded in our psyche. Fortunately, we are seeing vocational skill universities coming up, those that are now catering to hybrid programs with employability in mind. They are incorporating deep skills combined with deep tech, which include machine learning, artificial intelligence, game design, entrepreneurial thinking, and so on. Hopefully, this will create employment opportunities as well as create entrepreneurs. There are papers written wherein automation will not only take away jobs from the market, will not take away jobs. Sorry, can I repeat that? There are papers written wherein automation will not take away jobs from the market, since by lowering the cost of production, automation will create more demand for goods and services, boosting jobs that are hard to automate. However, they say 3 to 14% of workforce will need to switch to acquire new skills by 2030. Supermarkets may need less checkout attendants in developed countries, but more healthcare workers with different skill sets like social skills, creativity, and cognitive skills. Technology, therefore, changes rather than scraps jobs. So people will need to be far more adaptable, upskilling or completely reskilling themselves. Manufacturing still contributes a stagnating 15% of our GDP in India, and India still contributes to less than 5% to global manufacturing output. Developing a globally competitive manufacturing hub will represent an opportunity for India to spur economic growth and create jobs with its cascading effect on SMEs in the ecosystem. And in order to become globally competitive, India's manufacturing value chains will have to lift their labor and capital productivity much more towards global standards. Compared to India, today the manufacturing productivity in Indonesia is twice as high, and in China and Korea, it's 4 times as high. So we will need to adapt automation technologies and invest in analytics, reskilling, and upskilling to capture many of these gains. The focus of the Government of India to manufacture through Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat to enable automation and Industry 4.0 in India has garnered some momentum. Samarth Udyog Bharat 4.0 is such an initiative of the Department of Heavy Industries. SAMARTH stands for Smart, Advanced Manufacturing and Rapid Transformation Hubs, which aims to raise awareness about automation and Industry 4.0 among Indian manufacturing in order to reach 25% of the total GDP by 2025 with the help of demonstration centers. Some of these initiatives include setting up startup or incubators, hand-holding SMEs to plan and implement relevant Industry 4.0 and automation projects, collaborating with universities for student training, internships, and so on. To my mind, we will need a lot more to achieve 25%, whether it be labor reforms, logistics, and of course, the ease of doing business in India. We humans have the intellect, creativity, and adaptability. With COVID, look at the speed with which we've come out of vaccinations in just 1 year. Or look at the way in which people are now working from anywhere in the world, so long as they produce the outcome. The Economist talks about Kenya gearing up to train 1 million of its workforce on digital so that it can participate in the human cloud gig economy. Work in the developed world is now being broken up into many tasks, advertised online and worked on by the lowest bidder of remote workers across the world. This will certainly reduce wages in the West, but it will also mean coming out of poverty for many in the developing world. It may also start to question many labor rights that were taken for granted in the developed world, whether it be paid leave, sick leave, working hours, or job protection. With AI, there are companies that are beginning to monitor employees. This is bound to raise questions about worker welfare as well as privacy rights, creating a lot of distrust and discrimination. With robots and automation at the workplace, humans will be against an inherently efficient, no mistakes, no complaints machines. However, I want to end on a happier note. I just saw a lovely documentary regarding an online retailer in the UK that used an array of robots like an air traffic control system, collaborating with each other to pack groceries. However, it does this entirely alongside human beings, taking away the grunt work and working very efficiently. In fact, these robots have created more jobs at the company than previously. Moving up the value chain in terms of technology and automation has enhanced the growth of this company, therefore taking on more and more people. A win-win in every respect. Thankfully, research is beginning to suggest that artificial intelligence and machines can create as many, if not more jobs as they will displace. It's going to be all about collaboration between humans and technology, involving humans to become far more adaptable. Luckily, we've done so in the past and we can do so in the future. Thank you.
Great. So thanks for that, Meher. Really insightful. Perhaps so now we have live with us. We have Meher Pudumjee and Ashish Bhandari, who's Ashish being the MD. So Ashish, maybe I can start with you. We have a lot of SMEs that are part of IACC and a lot of who have joined in today, and they might be saying they're looking at the fact that Thermax is this big behemoth, and they would find the money, they would be able to do things. If you're an SME, how do you get started with automation? What would your recommendations be?
Vandana, thank you so much for having me here. And to everyone that's on this call, we can't see you, but we know you are there. And a very, very warm good afternoon to each one of you. Vandana, so if you are an SME, I don't think the difference is whether you are a big company or a small company. Question starts with, do you see a reason to change? And if you do, whether digital can help you. I do believe that whether you are a big company or a small company, the reason to change is very much there. And not only is the reason to change there, all the innovation that has happened on the digital side in the last few years has only reduced the cost of digital change, which means if you are a small company, your ability to make a change by using digital is more today than it was any time in the previous couple of decades. So, if anything, that in previous times, the big companies had more access to money, more access and capability to do digital. Today, you have so much capability with sensors becoming cheaper and cheaper, cloud platforms becoming very widely accessible, lot of technology being easy to talk about, implementation partners available. I do think digital can be done in a low cost effective manner as well. So you step back and you say, depending on who you are in as a company, which part of the sector, and the unique problems you have as a company, it first starts by defining what is it that you actually are looking to solve using digital. Yeah, and that would be my encouragement, which is not look at digital for the sake of doing digital, but to say, why am I going to do digital? Am I going to improve my quality? Am I going to have faster access to the market? Am I going to reach out to a wider set of customers? And if you're doing manufacturing, am I going to cut down my throughput, improve my quality, whatever the case may be? Yeah. So being able to be clear about why you want to implement digital is at the heart of why any SME should look at it. The next step then comes about is once you think you understand the problem, is then you start to come back and say, okay, how do I collect data? What kind of data do I collect? How do I build my story around it? How do I build the case around it? How do you experiment? How do you start to use data uh, to first to first start very very simply? Yeah, I think the other example that we keep seeing constantly is the importance of experimentation, the importance of failing, the importance of it's okay to try something new, learning from it, coming back. And software is great about that. There's no version of software which is, or an iPhone which is an iPhone 12. Everything starts with an iPhone 1. Once you mentally get ready for the iPhone 1, then each one becomes easier and easier. So, in summary, my message to the SMEs would be it applies to small companies and big companies alike. We all are in a global competitive market, and if you are not doing that, then your competitor is doing that, and your customers will move to your competitor then. First, second, it is not very expensive depending on what problem you're looking to solve, and it's most important to get started. I think that's where I would finish my message for them.
Great, thank you. Meher, would you add anything to that?
Just a couple of points I wanted to add. One is aligning yourself to the supply chain. So there are many SMEs who possibly could look at automation as a way to align themselves to what the goal of their customer is. So
Yeah.
aligning themselves, that's one. Second, I think probably in a smaller company, it's a little easier to adapt than in fact larger companies. And I would say that also, if one can in a way alleviate the fear of job losses,
Yeah.
because I think very often when you try and want to automate, the first thing that comes to a human mind is, will I still have my job? So if you can alleviate that fear, I think a lot of things can get sorted out.
That's a really good point, Meher. At the end of the day, I remember lots of researchers said the most successful companies are the ones that have said to their employees, listen, we want to train you out of this job so we can skill you for the next. And so if you can give them that psychological safety, they are going to be with you on this mission rather than against you. So some great points there. So first of all, thinking about what problem am I solving? And really focusing on that problem. Then the second is, how am I collecting data around that? How am I experimenting around that? How am I building a story around that? And then aligning ourselves with the supply chain. So helping your customer win is going to help you win ultimately. And finally, just that psychological safety. So thank you. Some really great points there. And an interesting point comes out of that. Obviously, with what Ashish said, what you're doing is you're looking at a particular process and you're looking at digitizing or automating one part. Now, there are two ways to do it, aren't there? One is to look at where can I bring digitization in that's going to make my whole process better, or holistically, how can I bring digitization in, which could really be a game changer for how I do business. Can you talk a little bit, Meher, perhaps about the difference between the two and what you did? I mean, I think you talked about the piecemeal part of it. Any comments on that?
Yeah, sure, Vandana. I think as a company, we've looked at, and I mentioned it in my talk, we've looked at digitization in terms of sort of piecemeal. So, changing your drawings from a 2D to a 3D drawing, or trying to improve some parts of productivity. But we haven't really looked at it as an Uber, say, has looked at it. How do you actually look at digitization, automation, in terms of really transforming your business, transforming perhaps your entire business model, and I think that's when you'll really get huge gains. Otherwise, it'll be very incremental, and the return on investment could take that much longer. But if we really understand why we are doing it, as Ashish said, and try and look at it very holistically, like say, for example, if we were to look at our entire services and we were to bring in, say, artificial intelligence, machine learning, to really understand what is it that the customer, our machines are telling us, how is it integrating with the customer's process? I think if we could look at it in that sense, in a holistic manner, the opportunity possibly could be huge.
No, very great point. It's almost like Gestalt talks about the sum of the parts as something else other than the whole. So it's looking at a much bigger picture version, and it's game changing, isn't it? As we saw in Uber's case. So thank you for that, Meher. I know that we're running out of time, so I'd just like to say a big thank you to both Meher and Ashish for joining us today, and we'd like to present you with a small token of our appreciation. We're going to be sending you a digital certificate, and we're also going to be planting 2 trees in your honor of being here and part of the session today. So thank you so much. To everyone else, please stay tuned, because after the break, we have Mr. Himanshu Zadov, CEO of Gendermark, who's going to be looking at how we implement Industry 4.0, specifically in developing countries. And also do have a look at the agenda and see what other excellent speakers and panels we've got coming up. We've got everything from IoT to AI and data, and we have it all covered at the Integr8 Conference 2021, brought to you by IACC Pune in partnership with Automation Alley. So thank you, Meher and Ashish, and everyone else. See you on the other side of the break. Thank you.
Thank you.